All right, going live for the first time, waiting for some people to come in. But what I'm gonna do now is, I did a video waiting for some chat to come in. I did a video the other day about how to do some CSS inside of React. And I wanted to start doing a little bit more lives, just seeing what it's like, just testing this out. So hopefully we'll do some builds. I know I've seen other people doing like full on like Netflix builds, Hulu builds and stuff like that live. Some people do it on the spot. Some people do it sort of like previously and then start doing it. But what I wanted to do is go ahead and actually do some stuff live. So in this video, I'm just gonna go ahead and talk about something I already spoke about in a previous video, which is how to do some CSS inside of React. So if anyone is gonna join, come join. If you're in the chat, go ahead and chat. But for now, let's just do it. So what I did was I went ahead and let me just lower this a little. Let me just close things out here and move things around. So I have my keyboard. I love this keyboard I got here. So I found a way to show the keyboard on the screen and show me this thing is crazy using OBS and trying to figure all this out. But this is kind of fun. So let's see what's going to happen. Let me see if you can see both things on the screen. And what I can do is even switch over from scene to scene, switch between all the code, everything together. So let me pull this up. So what I have here is I don't know if you could see, you can't see everything on the screen. If I bring this up just a little bit here, you could probably see the terminal. Okay, so what I have here is I already did an npx create React app. So I have a boilerplate React app. So I'll close this out. And now what we're gonna do is, we have to do npm install Sass. So that's something, first of all, I love is some good old Sass. So let's go ahead and let's close out of this. Let's do npm I Sass. And I don't know if you'll see it install. Let me see if I bring this up a little bit here. Yeah, I think now you could see everything on the screen probably. So now you have npm Sass, right? So now we have Sass installed. So we'll do npm start again to load up our React app. And you can see here, this is hopefully you see this keyboard while I'm typing, but let's refresh this, make sure everything's loading. Okay, great. So we have Sass. So you can see Sass is installed in our package JSON. So let's open up our source. Let's open up our app.js file and let's get rid of some of this stuff here. So let's say h1 hello world. So let's leave the React app. Let's leave everything going on. So the first thing is we see here that we have hello world. The first thing we can do is do global CSS, right? So the first thing we could do is just global CSS. How do we just do some basic old global CSS? So let's say there's already a global CSS file in any boilerplate React app called app.css. So if you open this up, you'll see app.css, right? So let's leave this all and let's just go ahead and do some good old boilerplate stuff. So let's say h1, let's just do something to all the, I'm gonna leave what they have here. I'm just gonna go down. And we're gonna do h1 and we'll do font. I mean, I guess they have something here. So let's change the color. Right, so there we are. So we're implementing, we're just like cascading styles onto all of the elements, right? And look, do they have any h1? I don't know. I don't know where it's getting its other default, but they must have it already. But let's say we also want to create a global style sheet instead of writing in our h1. So I'll close that out, right? And then we'll do dot accent color, let's say color red. Now I keep doing that on this keyboard. So let's say we got that. So now we have a class, but we haven't used it. So now we can place this here by not going class. We have to go class name in camel case, give it the curly braces. And then we're going to use backticks and we're going to just put in the class. And here we can keep on doing more classes that we might have globally, and that's it. So that's going to be the global class. If we want to do anything else, we could add another one. So we'll do one called BG color. So we'll do background color, and then we'll do black. Right, so that's not added, but if you want to go ahead and add it right here, that's it. So now we're adding all these classes, these global classes, to anything we want in our React app. And That's all fine, but I don't want people to get stuck on the global, because it seems like when you cross over from vanilla into React, that's like your first go-to is like, oh, let me do just globals, right? Because that's what you're used to. The problem is you got to remember React is going to be very component based, and you're going to start breaking stuff in components. So you're going to go crazy thinking how to cascade all of these things on down, which is totally fine to use global. The problem is when you start sharing code with other developers, and you open up this massive global CSS file, and if there's Sass and nested things, and you will go crazy trying to figure out if this BG color is attached to all these places alongside of the whole website, then you'll never know, like, oh my God, if I do this, you'll be like, what am I gonna change here? You might ruin something, right? So that's what I don't like about globals. But that's the way to do it. The next thing that I love is what is scoped modular CSS. So what you can do is you could scope your CSS in a CSS file, attach that, import it into a component, and then that'll show. Hold on, guys. Let me just get the cat out. She's like going crazy over here. 1 second. So then you could do the global, CSS. So here, let's do that right now. So it's going to be, what you're going to do is let's make a new one, a new file. So we're going to save it. And what you have to do is you have to save it as a whatever. So we'll say, I'll say app.module.css. So now when it comes to scope CSS, you need to make sure that you add the module prefix to the file name. And that's it. So now we're going to close this app.css out. I'm going to get rid of this stuff. Now we're going to import styles from the app.module.scss, right? So no errors. Wait, did we get some error? Yeah, we're not using it. So we're importing all of the stuff here in an object called styles, and we can change this name to whatever we want. So now let's say, now let's go back to color accent, and let's say color red. So now we're just writing our regular old CSS. And now we're going to go here. Now that we're importing this, how do we use this? It's basically styles, just like you would go through any object and key, property key and value. Just go styles dot the name of the class, styles dot color accent. So all of your CSS classes become part of this object called styles. And now you can attach it anywhere. So you go class name equals styles dot color accent, and here we are. So now what's cool about this, when you inspect this, this is only scoped to this one. I mean, I'm in the app root, so it doesn't make sense here, but just for the demo. But if this was its own component, it would be scoped only to that component. That will never clash with anything else. You see here, React adds app color accent. It snake cases it and adds a unique key. So in other words, if I did this in multiple modular CSS files, the color accent, even if I reuse that in different components, they would never clash, right? So in the case where you want something completely to go across, you could use global.css, something that you know will be standardized 100% across the entire website. But things that are like, you want it more for like a component, like a button, and then that button goes in different places, you just want to make sure that everything is here. So that's cool. Now, one thing I was doing before was like, how do you actually do multiple scope CSS classes here? And that's pretty easy. You just use template literals. So if we just add another one called BG color, and we say background color black, right? And then we go here. So now what you have to do is you have to change this to template literals. You can't just like comma and keep adding. So what you do is leave the curly braces, add backticks, and then use the template literal version of this. So this is all crossed over. And now we can add multiple classes here. So we're going to use the one called BG color, and we're going to save that right here. Right? So there we go. So we just did the same thing that we did globally, but we did it using scope CSS. So this is why I love this. This is like the funnest thing about it. The next thing I want to show you is how do you actually use inline CSS inside your component. Like, again, we all frown upon inline CSS. We all frown upon things like that. But, a lot of times in React, you probably might end up using it much more. And it's good to know that it's available. It's good to know how to do it. You never know when you might need it, so you got to know how to do it. So now we got global CSS, we got scope CSS. Now how do we write some good old inline CSS right here? So if we go ahead and we could leave this, actually, you know what? I'll just get rid of importing this and I will stop using it here. So we're back to our default. So now if we go to here, so what we're going to do is basically you create an object. So you just say const, and then we'll do the same thing called styles equals, and we just go ahead and create an object. And our object would just be the CSS attributes property name, just like we did in all the CSS files. We're just going to do it here. So we're going to say color red. All right, and then we're going to add. Now we're just going to add that directly to the element under style. And that's it. And we just add that object as if we're just adding all those inline classes. So it's basically taking all this, and if you inspect, it's basically just inlining it on here. Style, just like you would write this out in vanilla, and it's just writing it out for you, but it's all coming from an object. And that's cool because you could add more. So you can add, remember, this has to be camel case, so you can't do font size. That's not allowed. I think it's called kebab case, so you can't use that. So it's font size, which is camel case, and then you'll have to use, you know, whatever you want here. So let's say 3 REM for now, and that might be being overridden. So let's actually use background color, and let's change this to black to see what it's doing here. Yeah, there you go. So now it's working. So if you inspect, it's adding inline styles going on, and you just keep adding to that, keep adding multiple things, and it'll just keep inlining. You never know when you might need this. You might be pulling things in. You might want to do certain things. I don't think there's anything you can't do in the previous example I showed you, modular CSS, that you can do here. But it's good to know if you need to kind of like access things inside of the component, you could access CSS right here. The next way is doing inline right inside the element yourself. So instead of using an object, you just go ahead and write out the inline styles. Again, the reason why I don't like it is because it's gonna really litter your HTML, but it's in, you never know. So let's just take that out, and let's just go ahead and write out style. So what we're gonna do is leave style. We got rid of that object, so we just have to wrap this into an object, and now we just start writing the object right in here. So we said color. Actually, let me just delete everything so you see that it's all gone, right? And now let's actually, now let's go back and write this out. So now we're gonna put the thing, and then we're gonna use the CSS property. We're gonna use a string for the value of the property. Save, and there you go. Now we can add commas here. It's still an object, right? Because we're inside the object, so it's kind of like it's this object, and we're just literally, writing more keys in the object. So now we're gonna say background color black, and there we go. And now we're inlining styles, same way we did previously. Instead of using the object, it's inlining it here. And that's cool ways. Those are 4 really fun, important ways to use CSS inside of React. And I love these ways. I mean, it's just, I love people think like you can't do CSS, or like it's really difficult inside of React, or like it's complicated. But essentially, if you take the idea that all of your styles, all of your CSS essentially become objects, and then you'll know how to work with them. But that's it. I mean, and that's pretty much how you use it. So I'm going to go ahead, and I hope you guys enjoyed this little live. I'm going to go ahead and sign off. And hopefully you saw this. Let's switch this over. I wonder how, oh no, see, look at that. When I switch over to the browser only, you totally can't see it. And now the code, you could probably see it there. I'll leave it over here. All right, guys. I'll see you guys in the next live. I'm gonna go ahead and sign off. Please go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.